What's going on, everybody? What is today? Monday. Girl, I don't even know what day it is. It's Monday. Happy Monday, you guys. I just wanted to come on here, and I was just listening to the message that I talked about God's grace and mercy is enough. And I just thought that was like, let me tell you something. Sometimes you got to remind yourself what God's word says about you. Sometimes you got to remind yourself what God says about you and what the word says that God is. And it's so crazy because yesterday I kept seeing like grace is running out, grace is running out. And you have to remember that God's grace is sufficient. God's grace never runs out. Even when, and I said it before, even when we walk in unrepentance, God still gives us time. Of course, there is a time where our names will be called by God, not by people. People can't take you out of this world. People will try. People will try to take you out because of the favor that's on your life or whatever it may be. Things may happen. You may get in there are so many times where there's something that could have happened, but God saved them by grace. God loves us. He loves each and every one of us, and he gives us chance after chance after chance. And so I just want to continue to just hone in on the fact that his grace is sufficient enough. If you have been running from God, please, and I'm so serious, please stop running, because you will get in the midst of running so long, God will stop you in your tracks. I've been saying this and I'm going to keep saying it because this is where God has been teaching me. This is where God has been wanting me to set somebody free. God has set me free from running from him, from deeming myself not worthy of the call that he has on my life. People don't see me as worthy to be sitting here telling my story. But God called me, not man. God called you, not man. And whatever your calling look like, it may not be my calling. But you got to know we're all here for a purpose. You're not here by accident. We're not just sitting here to just enjoy life and be entertained. We're here for the purpose of the kingdom. This is not our home. We are foreigners here, okay? Our home resides in heaven with God. We are on this earth to light the city up with light, okay? And I just, when you understand and I know sometimes, I remember just being younger, thinking about dang, what's my purpose? I remember when I was younger, let me just give y'all a timeline, okay? When I was younger, I wanted to be a lawyer. A lot of people, if you know me, I love to talk. I can argue. I can give a good argument. So I really feel hey, I could be a lawyer in a courtroom. Then I wanted to be a judge. Even to this day, I really if you ever seen, and I think I talked about this show before, dang it, what's the show, Lord? I can't think of it. It's with the lady. It's a court show, or it's a law show. Oh no, let me look it up. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Dang it, I can't think of the show. All Rise. Come on, Lord. Thank you. All Rise. I love that show. All Rise. I started watching All Rise. I thought that was a good show. And it gives you just so much, I love law, and I started watching For the People, and I just, I'm at heart a person for justice. I'm a person for justice. That's what I'll say. I'm a person for justice. And because I am a person for justice, I tend to seek out things more than it needs to be sought out until it is hit on the head. Until I can get the final answer, I will seek things out. But in that, I had to tell myself that, girl, you are not the judge. You are not God. God is the judge. God is the person that rules justice. And so, I just, once I got older and I started just looking at it, and I said, well, I don't really want to be a lawyer anymore. That's not really where I feel led to go. And then after that, but like I said, to this day, I still love a good show. All Rise, I loved it. For the People, I loved it. There's a few shows that I watch about criminal injustice and Reasonable Doubt. If y'all ever seen Reasonable Doubt, and I seen they coming out with a new season of that, so I gotta tune into that. Oh my god! But I love Reasonable Doubt. Anything that gets my mind thinking, or is All Rise, really got me, because there was a bunch of cases where it's just you think you know who it was, but then you okay, Reasonable Doubt is a really good one because it makes you think you know who it is, but then you dang, it was him the whole time. Anything that gets my mind thinking, I'm for it. Okay. But then I realized I'm no, lawyer ain't the way I want to go. And so then, after letting that die off for being a lawyer, like I said, I still have justice at heart, but I just realized that, my calling was not to be a lawyer, and that's okay. I have much respect for each and every person that is in the circuit of justice, and I think that it is very honorable, and I commend each and every person because that's not an easy task. And something that was also revealed in me why I can't be a lawyer, or I probably could if I can overcome that, but God's like, no, this ain't for you. But I have a conscience, okay? You know how, like, I just be thinking, like, people that deal with these cases, like, some of these cases are brutal, and I'm just like, I couldn't live with that. Like, I would not be able to, they say that you leave work at work and you leave home at home, leave work at work. I would bring work home. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would not be able to sleep at night, depending on some of these cases. Because you have to think, some of these cases, like, people are crazy. And then I know it also depends on I just feel like either way you go as a lawyer, like divorce lawyer, look how sometimes, like, divorces, their cases be like the other one person be hurt by the other person, or both people just be trying to get at each other, and then they just try to take everything and take the kids and all that. I couldn't sleep at night about that. Like, forget a homicide, forget a suicide. Like, let's just talk about the basics of divorce court. Like, you see some bad cases, like, man, Jesus be offense, okay? But so I remember, like, just wanting to be a lawyer because I'm justice at heart. And then moved on from that. I started getting into doing hair. Like, I can still do hair to this day. I don't really have a passion for hair anymore because, I don't know, my passion came from really, like, doing my family's hair, doing my dad's hair. And because my dad is no longer here, I don't really have a passion for hair anymore. And he really was the one that motivated me. Who really, I wouldn't say he motivated me, but he also, like, made it a lot of things possible. Like, he got me a salon chair, he got me a hair dryer. Like, I remember being at my mom's house, like, doing my brother's hair, doing my sister's hair, sitting up under the dryer, y'all, in the hallway. Like, I had my own little hair salon at home, and I would do people hair in my house, at my mom's house. Like, I would do people hair in school to make money. But yeah, I would, do people hair at my house, with the salon chair my dad gave me, and I had a dryer in the hallway. Like, I would do my mom's hair, I would do my sister's hair, I would do my brother's hair, I would do my friend's hair. Like, I was doing everybody's hair, y'all. Like, even, like, a lot of people from high school, like, I used to do plaits, like, and literally to this day, I can still do hair, but I don't really have a passion for it. And of course, I do my son's hair. I enjoy doing my son's hair because it reminds me of when I used to do my dad's hair. Like, and when I do his hair, like, when he does, like, the little braids and the little plaits, I look at him and I'm like, my baby looks just like my daddy. Like, oh my God, So it's like a bittersweet moment. But I really, to this day, I'm just like, even my hair, I hate doing my hair, but I'm like, okay, ain't no sense of paying somebody something I could do it myself. Now, if it's something that I can't do, obviously I'm going to pay somebody else. But for the most part, I'm like, okay, I can, I can do a lot of things when it comes to hair. It's just harder because my hair is just, child, listen. But I just think about, like, just imagine, like, the gifts that you have. Sometimes God gives us so many gifts and different talents, and it's not to, like, to become, like, this person that is just, I don't know, sometimes the gifts that we have are to benefit somebody else. Everything that we have is to promote the kingdom. Like, think about, like, okay, for instance, if I had friends that didn't know how to do hair, but I'm like, oh, I can do your child's hair. Like, I know how to do hair. I can do your hair free of charge. Or, if I was a lawyer, think about how I could help my friend get out of trouble, or, just give legal advice. Like, you never know. Like, the things that God stir up in us, the desires of our heart, the things that we know how to do is to help somebody else. It's not to just lay dormant in our hearts. It's to help somebody. You never know the very thing that you may be counting out. If you know how to cook, you think about how you can cook for somebody else. Like, think about that friend who just had a baby. Think about that friend who is mourning, or who has went through loss and don't even have the strength to get up and cook. Don't even have the strength to get up and fix a plate. But you know how to cook. You know how to meal prep. So you take your meal prepping skills and your cooking skills and you give that person food. Like, I just want to let you know that that's grace. Like, the same way that we have so many gifts that God gives us, we're called to be helpers. Like, and some people think that, oh, I only know how to do this, or I'm only this, but whatever you do in life matters. Don't let nobody tell you that, oh, you working at a fast food restaurant, that don't matter. You're a server there. You're serving people. And let's be real, when people come in the drive through, or people come to get food all the time, they're not nice. They're nasty. Some people look down on people who feel like, when they feel like, oh, you have a lower paying job. Like, I'm the COO, I'm a CEO of this corporate company, but they walk in and that person is serving them, like, and I think sometimes we overlook how much we can just take a step back and be grateful for the people that do what they do, the people that do work at the grocery stores, the people that do work at the restaurants, the people that does the things that sometimes people are too prideful to do. But then we have to come back and look at where it started at. We all had to start somewhere. Look at the people who have these big corporations and with hair products or clothing. Like, imagine how they started out. Some people started off at their house in the garage. Some people it started in their hearts. God gave them a gift. And no, your gift may not be shown out to the world, but God gave it to you, and you can use that gift behind closed doors by just helping your neighbor, helping somebody else. And so don't ever let somebody make you feel like, oh girl, you doing too much. Oh girl, you go from one thing to the next. And that's fine, because God made you a jack of all trades. God gave you abundant, like God gave you intellectual wisdom so that you can talk that friend out of doing the wrong thing. God gave you peace so that you can raise them children correctly. Like, don't ever underestimate the talents that God gives you, and don't let nobody else dim your light and tell you that you're doing too much, because if God gave it to you, baby, he wants you to shine it for the light, shine it, and not for the glory of yourself, but the glory of God, because he gave you that gift. And so I just was sitting here thinking about what grace really means. Like, ask yourself, what does the word grace really mean? What does God say the word grace mean? What is grace? Grace is extending a helping hand to a person that you may feel like not needed. Grace is cleaning a slate over and over again. Grace is apologizing when you feel right or when you are right. Apologizing even when you're wrong. Grace is so many things. We see that in the Bible. Look at how many times God graced so many people in the Bible with grace. Grace is a big word. And it's so crazy because grace is a 5-letter word, and we know that the number 5 is associated with God's grace. Ain't that crazy? 5-letter word that has a big meaning. God is grace. Grace is love. Grace is so many things. So I just think about like I said, just a timeline of my life. And like I said, I went from wanting to be a lawyer to letting that go. And then I got into this venture of doing hair. And then I actually went to school. My high school was a trade school. I went to school for doing hair. I wanted to be a salon owner. I wanted to have my own salon. I wanted to do hair in the salon. I wanted to manage people. I wanted to be in charge. And even I didn't get my license in school. And then when I graduated, I studied to get my license. But then I realized that I didn't really want to do hair. I knew how to do hair and I had a passion for it, but that wasn't what I felt like God was calling me to do. So I put that down. Then I went over to thinking about real estate, because I'm like, I always had a heart for real estate and land and owning something. You know what I'm saying? Like being a person that could give back, and then in that wanting to just get property so that I could give a better home to people who couldn't afford it. I think about my lifestyle and how things, sometimes took a left turn and we weren't always fortunate. I didn't always have a place to lay my head. And so I wanted to create that for other people who couldn't afford it. And we think about how times were when I was younger and how times are now. They're definitely different times. And so, I still have a passion for that. And I still pray that, God will allow me to be able to do that, to be able to literally buy back the block, like literally buy homes and create affordable housing for people who can't, afford it. Make it realistically something that somebody can afford, because times are definitely hard and we're called to be helpers of this world, to help somebody in need. And I still have a passion for that. And I'm in school for interior design, and that's literally what I want to do. I want to not just create pillows and fabrics and stuff, but I want to change the world one design at a time. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because, like I said, those little things people may make you think like, oh, you can never do that, or that ain't gonna change the world. And it's crazy because I had a interior design business, but I ended up closing it. And the reason why I ended up closing it was because, and it's crazy because I did used to get some, I have put together portfolios for a few people. People would reach out, but I don't know. I stopped doing it because I couldn't tie it back to how I could make it work for the kingdom of God. Ain't that crazy? I literally just stopped doing it because I was like, okay, well, how can I tie this back with God? I thought about changing it because the name was behind my name. So I'm like, okay, obviously that's not honoring the kingdom. That's honoring me. And so I ended up letting it go because I was just like, okay, well, I can't see how I can tie God into this. Because I want, when people come into my interior design business, I want them to know that this is a God-funded business. This is business standing on the kingdom. This business is not here just to build your house or to build foundation. It's built by the foundation of God. And because God graced me enough to have this business, I'm going to grace you enough to help you in whatever I can when it comes to the business that God's going to give me. You know what I'm saying? And so I ended up closing it because I was like, okay, Lord, I can't really figure out how to tie this back. And then I started praying about my purpose. Like, when you start getting curious about your purpose, and you guys, this is just me talking. This is just like I said, my definition of grace. And I want you to define what grace looks like for you. This is just me having a talk with you guys. This ain't to be broken down and overthought, but just me letting you guys into who I am, because I get on here all the time. And, I know you think it's always so serious, and it is serious. The kingdom of God is serious. God is serious. But I also just want you guys to know that it's okay to live your life. Like, just continue to walk in repentance. Just continue to follow God and do the best that you can, because God is gracious. That's what I want you to know. Don't ever let somebody tell you that God's grace has run out. Until the day that your name is called and you have taken account for what you've done, you still have a chance. If you're still living right now, make the choice to turn away from your sin, follow God, repent, and follow him, because his life that he gives to you is abundant. Don't be skeptical to the things that the enemy is offering you. Take what God gives you, because it's more than just the money, the cars, the clothes. Like, it's more than that. His grace is sufficient enough. His abundance, what God asks brings no sorrow. And that's what this is about. This is just giving you my definition of grace. And so, like I said, I closed that business out, went to school for that. And even in that, like, people, like my own family talked about me like a dog, okay? Talked about me like, oh, she thinks she all that because she done went and got her little certificate for staging. Like, I'm certified in home staging, or whatever. And I completed the course, like, got my certification, started my business, got my LLC, got my little website done. I used to go to open houses. Like, I have a passion. My heart, when it comes to interior design, that's what my heart is. Anybody that really knows me, that's what my heart is. And like I said, I'm in school right now for interior design. Took me a long time to get back in school. The first time I was in school for business, because like I said, I wanted to be an owner, but God had to break me down and say, no, you're an owner, but not in the way that you see fit. You're a COO, because I'm the CEO. And so as long as the business honor God and God is the CEO, you can be the owner of that business, or you can be the co-owner, because God is ultimately the owner. And so I ended up, like I said, starting that business. And sorry, you guys hear my dryer going off, but starting that business and closing it, because I could not tie it back to God. Like, I literally fought with the name. I fought with the slogan. Like, everything it honored me. It didn't honor God. So I ended up letting it close. I ended up closing it out and not looking back. And so then after I did that, I went over to my podcast. And so I was asking God. That's when I started getting curious about what my purpose was. And God was like, I want you to talk. Like, I want you to just speak to people. I want you to use the intellect that you have. Because I love to talk, you guys, as you guys can see. That's where this podcast stemmed from. God was like, I just want you to talk. I want you to just tell your story in so many ways. And that's, like I said, that's what this is. It ain't no rhyme or reason, but it's just me telling my story through grace, because God has graced me to have a story, and I get to share it with the world. You don't know me. I don't know you. I mean, some people that may hear this knows me, but on the other side, I don't know what you're going through, but I just pray that everything that I share will help you in some type of way. I pray that it will help you remain grateful, because I know that it's not always easy. And please believe me, I haven't shared half of the things that I've gone through, but I'm telling you, life is worth living. And God's grace is sufficient enough. Don't let the enemy trick you into self-checking out. Don't let the enemy trick you into thinking that you aren't called, or that you don't have a purpose in this earth. Because if God still has you here, if God placed you in this world, it's because you have a purpose. So move out of purpose and continue to seek out and ask God, what is my purpose? And that's when I started leaving all those other things behind that I wanted to do. And I started asking, okay, God, what is your purpose for me? God said, I want you to talk. I want you to use that little flapper. And I want you to talk. I want you to talk to the people. I want you to tell your story. Tell how I've been good to you. Tell what has happened to you. Tell what could have took you. There's plenty of times where I wasn't supposed to make it out, but I did. And I'm a living proof of that. Like I said, when it's time for me to tell my story, which is going to be really soon, I'm going to tell it. Like, don't keep holding in what God told you to let out. Release it, okay? Release it. And I know I keep saying this, but that's because this is where God is pushing me. Telling y'all, when I get ready to sit down, it's gonna be a part 4, a part 10, it's gonna be a bunch of stuff. But I'm here for it, and I'm not afraid to tell my story. I'm not hiding behind shame or guilt, and I can't wait to release it. But it's still working. It's still, God's still doing the work in me, so I have to be obedient and just give you what I'm allowed to give it in certain moments. But when I started asking God, like, what is my purpose? What am I here for? And God said, to tell your story. You're here to tell your story. And so I said, okay, Lord, well, how do I do that? And so I started, like one day I was just sitting there and I heard podcasts. I'm like, podcast? I didn't even know what a podcast was. But I did my research. I started doing it. And I've had my podcast for years. And even when nobody was listening, I was still recording, and then later on, God put it on my heart to do the YouTube, and so that's how I'm here on YouTube now. Because I don't know, the enemy kept telling me, nobody want to hear what you got to say. Nobody want to hear what you talking about. Girl, your story ain't important. But God said, no, your story is important. Just like my story is important, your story is important. And you on the other side of this listening, your story is important. And so, it's just crazy. I just took you through this timeline because I wanted to show you how my life started, like what I wanted to do and how God turned it into what he wanted me to do. God said, I want you to talk. And I remember like in high school or when I first started working, at my corporate job, I remember having conversations with some of my coworkers about how I just wanted to do like women's retreats and how I want to like do better with women, like to just be around women because I didn't have a lot of women, a lot of friends, the right friends growing up, and I didn't have a lot of right women influences in my life. And so I wanted to be that influence for young women. I want to be able to go and just have women retreats, to have a place where it's safe to actually talk and people can't dim your light because God's in the midst of it. Like, that's what I had a passion for. I remember like sitting there planning like a women's retreat one day. Like, I had like this whole thing planned, and obviously, I didn't go through with it because I knew that it wasn't time, but just the fact that I could do that. And I remember like having so many people like, dang, that's a good idea. Like, I would come. And it's crazy because it's like, you really don't know the capacity, how God can use you. Just in that moment, me planning that, even though it didn't go through, God allowed me to see how he could work within me to be creative, to even come up with that. You know what I'm saying? And just make it like so good. Like it was, I just remember like thinking like, dang, I want to share my story with the world, and I wanted to change lives because and not only through my story, but just through who God is to me and how he's been good to me and all the things that has happened to me that God still saw me fit, and so I just want to encourage you that it's okay to change. It's okay to keep finding out what your purpose is because God is not a one-stop shop. He gives us talents, and the very things, just because you have a talent for it and you may have been doing that in one season, God may say, okay, it's time to let that go. Let's move on to another thing. What else you got? What else can you do? The very thing, I'm pretty sure, and I remember going to a conference with Marquetta Breslin. I think it's her name, Marquetta Breslin. She was a hairstylist, and she had a salon, and for the longest time she had a salon, and then she stopped doing the salon and she started traveling and just telling her story. And I remember that was like a breaking point for me, because I was just like, dang, like this crazy, because it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to get in God's presence and do what it is that he's called you to do. Don't let nobody tell you like, oh girl, you go from this thing. Like, I went from wanting to be a lawyer to wanting to do hair to wanting to have a staging business to wanting to do a podcast, back to doing interior design, still holding on to the podcast, wanting to be in a big corporate title. Like, it's okay, wanting to do real estate. And I say, you know what, God, with all of these ideas, I know that they're okay. And sometimes God will literally give you all of those things. Like, as long as it glorifies God, God will say, if you can handle it, and obviously he won't give it to you all at once. But eventually, if God sees you fit, if I go and do an interior design business and I'm on it and I'm stewarding it well and it's honoring God, God will add more unto me and say, okay, you got this understand. Now let's see what else you can do. What else you want to do? Oh, you want to create an interior line or interior line that comes back to me, or it's honored by me, or it's banking off me, like whatever. Like, listen, to whom much is given, more is required. Like, you got to come up higher and just trust that God is going to elevate you, but you got to steward the very place that you are. And whatever you want to do, make sure it honors God, because that's what we're here for. If it ain't honoring God, I think about, what's the lady? It's a lady named Tatum. She has a podcast. I used to listen to her a while back, but I remember she had a successful business and a podcast or something, and God ended up telling her to like scratch it off and do it again by herself with God. And I'm like, that's exactly what it looks like. Like, you can be successful in something, but if it do not honor God, God will bring that very thing down. He'll take it from you so that you can rebuild on his foundation. So if you've lost the business, if you lost something or whatever, just know that it's not to deem you as a failure. It's to say, God is saying, invite me into it. You want this corporate job? Invite me there. You don't have to step on people's toes to get to the ladder, because I will put your name in rooms. Like, I remember the position that I had at Bank of America. The last position I had, I wasn't qualified for that position. But I prayed, like, even before I got to the last role, one of my friends sent me the role. I prayed about it, and I ended up getting a role. And then I was in that role for a little minute, and then there was another opportunity that came up, and they sent out an email, and nobody responded. So I was like, well, I didn't feel qualified, but I said, well, Lord, if you allow me, I'll go. Like, I will literally go. And so it was kind of like a back and forth thing, and I knew that I wasn't qualified for it, but in the end, I ended up getting a position, and it was a challenge. I will say it was a challenge, but I did it. I wasn't qualified on paper for it, but God still chose me for it. And then God said, okay, you in this role for a little while, and now God elevated me and said, you know what? I want you to quit. I want you to leave, and I want you to follow me. And I want you to ask yourself, when God gives you everything that you thought you wanted, a higher up position, like, and I talked about that position all the time. Like, my manager wasn't micromanaging. Like, as long as we got our work done and managed our time well, she didn't care. That's the best dream in the world. You don't got nobody over your shoulder. Like, as long as you're doing your work, and of course I made mistakes because I was new, but for the most part, you could breathe through it. It was stressful at times, but it wasn't as stressful as I've been in other positions. And God said, oh, right before you get comfortable, come on up out of there. Let's go. It's time for you to do my purpose. I elevated you, and I wanted you to see that it's possible, but I gave you what you thought was best for you, but now I'm calling you to what my best is. So how are you going to react when God calls you from your best to his best? And ask yourself, what is grace? So I just wanted to give you guys, just have a little chit chat with y'all. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope you guys are just continue to move out of grace. Extend grace, even to the people that you think don't deserve it. Just get them people from grace, okay? Give grace. And I'm telling you, when you grace people with grace and kindness, the very people who feel like, oh, she this or she that or he this and he that, them same people going to be confused. You're going to confuse the enemy when you grace people with your grace, because the same people that had it out for you, when you start gracing them with grace, they're not going to understand it. They're gonna start telling on themselves. Come on, Lord. They're gonna start telling on themselves about what they done in the dark, because you showing kindness, you showing grace. Stuff that they thought was gonna break you is making you into a better person. And you're able to say, you know what? God's grace is sufficient for me, so I'm gonna walk in this world and be a light like God is to me. And I'm going to be gracious. I'm going to extend grace even to the people who intended on my downfall. I'm going to extend grace to the people who prayed on my downfall. I'm going to extend grace to the very people who said I wouldn't amount to nothing. I remember when I moved to Atlanta, how many people came up against me. People telling me, family members, friends, oh, no, you need to wait. Don't go now. Oh, no, I don't think God's calling you there. Oh, no, you stole my dream. How? Like, what? I stole a dream that you never shared with me? Like, come on, man. Like, you got to extend grace to people, because the very things that God called you to, people will be mad. And the very things that God will allow you to do, people going to be mad. But I know what I prayed about. Like, and let me tell y'all something. Just because you may see the fruit of somebody's labor, like for me, when I went to Atlanta, I had never been to Atlanta. I went to Atlanta with my best friend for a hair show. And when we went, I fell in love. Like, for one, my family is from Georgia. They're from Folkestone, Georgia. But if you know Folkestone, it's country bunking, okay? It ain't like Atlanta, okay? Kind of like Brunswick, okay? It's country bunking. But when I went to Atlanta, when we went to the hair show, like, I felt at peace. I was at home. Like, literally, I was just at peace. And I just love the atmosphere. Like, I felt welcome. Like, and it was crazy because I couldn't understand. Like, well, what is it about this place? I just don't want to leave. And on the way home, I wasn't saying too much. I was just praying, talking to God. And I said, Lord, if you see fit, I would like to come live here. I would like to live here and do what it is that you see fit. I wanted to live in Georgia and take off with my interior design business. And I mean, not nothing major, but just be successful in what God deems as successful. And so I had been praying about it, fasting about it, praying about it, but I wasn't talking about it to nobody. I literally was doing the work behind closed doors. So nobody knew that I was praying about going. Nobody knew what my plans were, because I kept it between me and God. And I said all this to say that sometimes you got to shut your mouth and stop talking about it. Be about it. Talk about it with you and God and whoever God tells you to release it to. Stop releasing stuff prematurely, because the very things that you release, the enemy will come and try to take. He will send people to try to taint you, to turn you around from those things. But I know it's a little winded, but I'm almost done. But so yeah, I was fasting, I was praying, I was journaling about it, and I prayed about it. And God said, "I'm gonna open this door for you. I'm gonna give you a door. You want to go? Let's go." And so I didn't see fit because I didn't have the money, I didn't have anything. But in the nick of the time, I ended up getting a second job. And sometimes people, you feel like, "Dang, Lord, you said I could go, but I thought you was gonna pave the way. I thought money was just gonna fall in my lap." But God said, "No." You gotta trust that what I send you, I will give you everything you need to go. Faith without work is dead. And so I ended up sorry, I heard somebody outside. But let me hurry up. But I ended up finding a second job. I was working 2 jobs all day long. Like, I literally was working 2 jobs. I was working at Citibank and working at a dealership. I worked one in the day and one overnight. And then I ended up letting the dealership go, and I ended up working at Citibank, and then I ended up working at another company, ERC, because I needed the money to go. And so I slaved like a dog, y'all. But let me tell you something, as bad as I should have been tired and weary, I was not. Like, I wasn't getting no sleep, but God renewed my strength, and I was able to save the money that I needed to go. I ended up applying for an apartment. This is around, we had that bad hurricane. It was a bad hurricane that came. And it hit Jacksonville, it hit Florida, and it hit Georgia. And I remember telling the lady, like, I was trying to put in my application, and I couldn't do it because the power was out, and like the rate that they had it was gone. And so I ended up telling the lady, so she honored the rate. Like, let me tell y'all something. When God say go, go. It don't matter what it looks like. When His favor is on your life, and God opens that door for you, the very things that He has for you will still be there. And so I ended up applying, getting approved. I saved my money. And when the time came, I was scared, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. When the time came for me to go, I was scared because I was just like, okay, I'm gonna still work my Citibank job in Jacksonville, and I'm gonna live in Georgia. And I was like, that's stupid, Jackson. That don't make no sense. Like, why would you work a job in Jacksonville when you live 4 hours away in Atlanta? And so, like, God paved the way for me. I didn't have a job for a little while there. My savings was running out. Times got hard. I ended up finding a job, but I never found a job that could really pay all of my bills. But by the grace of God, I was able to get everything done. I ended up like falling short, and I was almost facing eviction, but by the grace of God, my grandmother helped me, and everything was back on track. But even in that, it took a long time. It took I moved in October, and I didn't really run out of money until like March. And I just started working, but like I said, it wasn't a job good enough. But God said, listen, I sent you here. I'm going to keep you here. And then I ended up staying till my lease ended. And like I told you guys, I ended up having a choice to stay or come back. And I'm glad that I came back, because now I don't have no unfinished business. Everything that I need to do is done. And whatever God allows me to do going forward, I will definitely do it. But I said all that to say this. You don't have to explain what you pray for behind closed doors. Because my family and friends thought, oh, she just trying to up and move. She ain't got no plan. She didn't. And like I told you guys, the story I'll tell to this day, there's not one person that can tell me what happened with the Atlanta thing, because nobody knows. I was not talking about it. And with the ones who I was talking about it, when I found out that the stuff I was talking about was getting out, I shut my mouth. Okay? So sometimes you got to shut up and stop talking and do your talking to God and let God fight your battles. And let everybody else talking look crazy. Because some of the stories that was told, to this day, I'm just like, what? But it's okay. Let them talk. But I said all that to say this. Whatever you want to do, whatever God will allow, whatever's in God's will for you, talk about it with God. Seek Him. Do your fighting in private. You don't have to explain to nobody. If it looked like you just up and moved, so what? You know what you did in the background. I know that I was fasting. I know that I was praying. I know that I had 2 jobs, and I wasn't working 2 jobs getting no sleep for nothing. I had to put in the work. But as soon as I showed God that I really wanted it, and this is something I really wanted, because I could have said, you know what, God, I wasn't thinking it was going to be this hard. I'm going to just go ahead and sit down. But God said, no, you want to go? I'm going to allow you to go, but you got to do the work. Faith without work is dead. If you trust me that I'm going to get you there and I'm going to keep you there, and that's exactly what He did. I stayed there for a whole year, and I came back. And like I said, I don't know what the future brings for me, but I do know that whatever God has for you, He will keep you there. It don't matter what people talking about. So again, just ask yourself, what is grace? Like, grace yourself and grace others. Because sometimes people are so mad with you because you do what they're scared to do. People mad with you because you take chances. People mad with you because the life that you live outshines the life that they live, because they live in fear. They live in shame, and you don't live like that. You're free. And your life dims their light because they don't live the way you do. A lot of times the stuff that you do, somebody else couldn't do. But you're a blueprint for that. You show them that because you live through Christ, that you're free. You can do whatever you want to do. Like, people tell me, oh, you moving to Georgia, you ain't even got no family there. And don't. But I'm going. I went. Stayed there for a whole year. Didn't have no family. Didn't have no friends. By myself. I didn't have my son at that point. I wasn't dating nobody. Me and my child's father had broken up. Of course, he came and visited me from time to time, and he stayed for a little while, but he ended up leaving. I was still there by myself. Nobody wasn't fishing me no money but God. Worked several jobs. And if y'all used to see me on Instagram when I used to be posting my Macy's, I used to work at Macy's. Loved that job. It wasn't paying nothing, but I loved it. I loved the people that I worked with, the experience that I got to have. I used to see celebrities all the time in that mall, the Lenox mall or whatever. But I said all this to say, just remember grace, okay? Grace, grace, grace. I hope you guys have a blessed day. I love you, but most importantly, God loves you more. Hope y'all had a laugh in all this. Like I said, this is just me just rambling, talking. But I hope you guys have a blessed day. Bye.